Welcome back to another episode of the Career Evolved podcast. And today we've got Eric Rosenfeld. And I've known Eric for about 6 years now, and he's held several C suite titles: CIO, Chief Product Officer. He's been at the C suite since really 2000. And I
You thought
thought it was really valuable to bring him to the table because I just witnessed he's cream of the crop when it comes to C-suite because of his EQ. He's high energy and he's always in the high growth mode. He's always looking to advance his own leadership skills as well as technical skills. So I think he's the perfect embodiment of just someone who gets it. And I wanted to just have you share a little bit of your perspective on the career landscape and really thriving at the C-suite, especially in the technical space. So thank you, Eric, for joining today.
well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, I've been a fan of yours and, Career Evolved for quite a while. Um, you turned the light on for me in some very key and elemental ways. Now, I've been in the CIO chair since 2000. It was really my first CIO gig, the middle of 1999 and beginning of 2000. So I have about 25 years of CIO experience. And when I met you, I had over, what, 10, 15 years? But I was laboring at the time under a misunderstanding, honestly, of how decisions truly are made. I, like most of the people that I have still met, and I'm still meeting, believed that there was a single route defined by gatekeepers and defined by job postings and other things to getting a position of any kind of substance. And as it turns out, and much to your credit, that is not the case. Maybe it was never the case. Maybe I don't have the kind of perspective to make that statement outright, but I believed that I needed to follow the path that I had seen. And when that wasn't working, of course, I became very concerned and inward looking and changed my resume and all the rest of this. What I learned and what I've subsequently been teaching people that I work with, as a development resource for my staff, is that your value is what you lead with.
Mhm.
Um, I know you use terms like marketing related, sales related terms when you convey this sometimes, but I tend to see it a little differently because for me, the value in what I can provide as a solution is what makes me compelling and unique. Now, how you get in the room to discuss that value is all based in the relationships that you build, not your kind of, I know him through LinkedIn, so I'm going to ask him to do me a favor kind of relationship. But I have had a time with the people that I do know me to start down a road. So as an example, when um, you first met me, I didn't understand that, but as I came to understand that, I immediately clicked with people in my social circle and business circle. Um, and I began to have better conversations with them about, I've been reading this. What do you think of that? And building a dialogue before ever trying to present myself or what I could do. And in that way, finding who they knew. And I've had this idea about this thing that of the person that I know, whatever. I got in with a company that was a consulting gig, frankly. I needed to pay the bills, so I found a consulting gig through this kind of a relationship. It wasn't a long-term thing, but I had value that they could give, that they could make use of. And what I did was then leverage that through more relationship building to another company where I currently am. We had a person we were working with, one of the lawyers for one of these consulting firms. I connected with, and he's like, "Wow, you're really on top of your skills here. Let me introduce you to some people that could really use your help." And that was the beginning of what is now my 6-year relationship with my current company. Um,
Nice. Well, really quick, I wanna go back because, like, I remember when we met, you were a lot of C-suite folks I talked to, when they go into transition, right, the first thing they think is, "I need an executive recruiter. I need an executive headhunter." And I know you have a lot of experience talking to a lot of recruiters, so I would love to hear your take on this because I see your smile and would love to hear what the obviously, you know our take on this. We know we can't rely on a recruiter for your career, but what's your perspective?
Yeah, I would double down on that statement. You can't rely on a recruiter. Recruiters don't work for you much as they want you to believe they do. They don't advocate for you. They don't know you. You are the commodity they're selling, whether they're internal, whether they're contingency based or um, contract based. Uh, you don't mean anything to them. You're just another face. And if you're the face that the client loves, great. If you're not, then you're nobody. But beyond that, they very, very seldom understand your value the way you do, and they very, very infrequently present it. Now, being on the hiring end, I can tell you, I only work with placement firms that know the people they're talking to. And it's never skills based when I have that conversation. I'll ferret that out later. I want to know capabilities. I want to know attitude and cultural fit. And I have a stable, a very small stable of recruiting firms or placement firms that understand me and my idiosyncrasies, and can provide people who have value because they know what value looks like. But even then, it's not certain. I find a lot of people through the same relationships, incidentally, that I found the position that I'm in. Um, People that are connectors. This is a very important thing. If you are thinking about the people you probably know somebody who is a connector. A connector is somebody who likes to put other people together, who gets a charge out of seeing connections being made outside of themselves. And there are a few of these people here in the Valley, but I befriended them fortunately. And whenever I call them, the first conversation is always about how you doing, how are the kids, what's going on in your life, here's what's happening in my life. And then we get to, gee, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about this area? And I engage them, and invariably they come back and they say, there are people that I know. So, to be honest with you, executive recruiters, most especially, don't have value. What has value are these connectors in your relationship based network. What has value is your ability to articulate your particular solutions. Um, I'm not everything to anybody. That was another thing I learned from Olivia. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody, but I am good at what I'm good at. And if I focus on that and I project that in these meetings where there's somebody who has a genuine need, give you an example. Recently sat down with people who needed what's called intelligent document processing. And it's an AI based capability that helps automate the flow of documents and correspondence throughout a company. Um, I was able, using what I understood, to present here are the outlines of the solution before anybody else really got there. It's something I'm good at. That value translates immediately, and it's very attractive because not a lot of people can do that particular thing. And every single person on the planet has their own special thing. Whether you realize it or not is a different story, but you have something in you that is unique and extraordinary. Find it, articulate it, and you'll be unstoppable because the world needs more people like that. As I am fond of saying, your whole job is to be useful. Just figure out what it is you need to be useful at. If you're useful and you can discuss it and you can present it with some passion and some articulate conversation, that's the key. That's what gets you past. And you don't need a gatekeeper. You just need your own understanding. Now, if you're not articulate or if you're not um, able to see that in yourself, then I fully recommend finding someone to help you find it. Whether that's a therapist, and at times I felt Olivia was like a therapist, or it's another person in your industry, find it. because in a non-confrontational way, right? Not what's so great about me, but here's what I'm doing. How do you think I should present it? I have a lot of these conversations, some of which actually, Olivia, you've forwarded to me. I think I've spoken with at least two or three of your other clients who needed that level of introspection. But that to me is the key. Find your specialness, find your extraordinary abilities, whether or not they seem extraordinary to you, because frankly, everybody thinks, whoa, gee, I can do this. Why can't everybody do that? Well, maybe they can't, and you have to open that up in your brain. But that's what gives you the momentum. That
Exactly.
alone.
Eric, I think before we hit record, you were talking about because you're in tech, you're CIO, and what I've noticed with tech folks is they struggle to really own their value because they're thinking too much in a transactional way, not a relational way. And one thing about you that you got really good at attuning to these C-suite and CEOs, and that's a skill, that's a marketing and selling skill. I know you don't like those keywords, but you're serving, you're adding value, right? Why do you
Right.
think so many tech executives struggle with this process?
Well, principally because there is a real disconnect between most technical people and most sales and marketing people. There is a huge distrust and a disconnect, not just communications, but in terms of basic modus operandi. Tech people tend to live and focus on outcomes. Salespeople chase the transaction. And because of that, the thought that I might need to be a salesperson is genuinely distasteful for most technical people.
So true.
And so I don't think of it that way, because honestly, I still have that problem, right? I still deal with tech salespeople who are presenting smoke and mirrors that I know isn't true. I still have trouble with my own internal sales force overcommitting.
Yeah.
Uh, there's still that basic kind of wariness that you walk into this with. I don't think of it as sales. What I think about it is, if you're a really attuned tech person, you are concerned and committed to outcomes. That's what you own. Your outcomes are marketable. Your outcomes are really interesting to people who don't have them. So if you connect with your abilities, you connect with your outcomes, and you think about how they are consumed, whether or not that's a marketing thought or not, doesn't matter. You're not trying to overblow it. You're not trying to present yourself as something you're not. You're just trying to get in touch with who you are and what you offer. And then, only then, do you say, okay, here are the outcomes I can rend that I could own and I'm comfortable owning. At that point, you found your extraordinary purpose, and you're not marketing. You're not taking an ad out. You're not putting a billboard up, right? What you're doing is knowing who you are and then using that to navigate through relationships to an endpoint that you seek. Um, I just had a conversation with one of the people that I work with that I'm mentoring. Um, the idea of control is a myth. The only control you have, so you can't control outcomes in the world. You can't control who's going to hire you. You can't control who likes you. You can't control anything really except your own decisions. So if you own your own decisions.
This episode is sponsored by Career Evolved. And are you ready for a career breakthrough? And what I mean by breakthrough is, are you ready to finally get paid your true value and also feel inspired and aligned with your work, aligned with the leadership team, and actually getting the purpose and the impact that makes you feel fulfilled at the end of your workday? If so, I would encourage you to schedule a free 1 hour breakthrough session with us to get to the bottom of what are the key gaps that are stopping you from making this breakthrough? What are your goals? And then once we get clarity on that, if we can help, we'll tell you exactly how. If not, you'll still leave with value and clarity. And this is a free 1 hour consultation. We do need to make sure you're qualified for this. We are targeting those who have executive level management leadership skills those are the best fit and alignment for the career evolved process and community. So if this sounds like you, go ahead and head to www.careerevolved.com/schedule. That's www.careerevolved.com/schedule. Go ahead, select a time, answer the questions, and we will go deep and we will get to the truth on what's stopping you and plan the next steps from there. Now I'll let you get back to the podcast.
And you own your own value, that's the most control you can have. Whether or not they like it or they want it isn't a reflection on you. It's a reflection on them, their needs, and their abilities. So it's not selling, because in a sale, you've got X to sell and you've got Y target, and what you're trying to do is get that thing in there. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you're doing. You have value and you want the market to come to you because it has intrinsic value and they recognize it. So all you've got to do is be able to articulate it and be unafraid to articulate it. I think that could also be part of it.
I
But
think it's so important at your level too, at the C-suite. I mean, most of these roles are never posted, right? I mean, you're not going to find it on a job board.
that's right. You have to get comfortable. I certainly had to get comfortable with the idea that I am the architect. Um, the thing I'm architecting is my life, honestly. You have to take a long look at that. Um, but I'm the architect, right? I am not the only um, person with whom I have to interact, but I am in charge of me. So if I architect myself, present myself, and you don't like it, it's nice knowing you. It's not an emotional thing. And for so many tech people, not being accepted immediately based on face value with no ability to articulate outcomes, they get upset, they get hurt, they get rejected. The few people that I've spoken to, I don't know how many it is at this point that Olivia has sent my way. They all seem to miss that. They were all like, "Oh, I can't get a job. I don't know what I'm going to do." Okay, I get it. I totally understand, and I'm validating your feelings here, but you have to realize that you're anxious and your fear is coming from a place you can't really control. You can control what you got. So what you should be thinking is, how many places have I told my story? How do I tell that? Who
Exactly.
cares to hear my story? These are the questions that have value. But why didn't I get accepted? I was a perfect fit for the job description. It it means that you're not doing the right homework. You may be doing homework, but you're not doing the right homework because honestly, they could be blind and they could be helping you. I mean, there was one firm that I was perfectly aligned for, and they said, no, thank you. And I realized down the road, they did me a favor. They were never going to be a comfortable place for me to live. I was never going to actualize there because they they said they wanted X, but what they really wanted was somebody that would do exactly what they wanted them to do and call it, creative development of resources, call it development of artificial intelligence, call it whatever they were going to call it. But they really didn't want that. What they wanted was somebody to help them keep the status quo. And I was definitely not that person. So of course they rejected me. That's
But
cool.
who you are. And I think where you got to this, just seeing you got really good at not getting attached to the company because you were in your power. You know your value. You know
Yes.
the top tier. You're very confident. And that's what makes you so bold, right? And this is what I tell people every day. It's like it's not the most brilliant that are winning, it's the most bold. And are you seeing that in your world as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's not. I think bold and brash. It's the wrong connotation. Confident,
Yep.
confidence wins. No matter what you're talking about, confidence wins, and it's very difficult to be confident if you don't know what you're confident about. So start there, then get confident with it and present it confidently. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be outspoken. You don't have to be brash in that way, but you do have to come across unflappable and confident in what you know, because they really don't know what you know, right? If you think about it, they won't figure that out until 6 months into the position. So the reality is you you have to use that, that dissonant, that separateness, right? Here's the need, here's you. You have to use this separateness and bridge that gap so that they're comfortable, but without being overpowering, right? I think we all know that metaphor, that archetype of a guy with too much Aramis cologne on, hanging out at the bar with old, right? Nobody likes that guy, right? I don't know why that ever worked, but nobody likes that guy because he's brash in a way that's in your face and off-putting. You need to be the kind of person that bridges the gap with value and makes it a safe conversation for the people that you're working with. If you can't do that, you need a role in the back office someplace. You're never going to rise to the level of an executive. Because my whole job really is translations and bridge building between CFO, COO, CEO, and the technical capabilities and delivery mechanisms. That's what I do. So if you can't bridge your value to a CEO who frankly doesn't know what the heck a tech person does anyway, you're on the liability side of the spreadsheet so far as he's concerned, you can't operate in that environment. So it's maybe a new skill that most people weren't growing up with. Technology for its own sake is no longer the ticket. It has to be your ability to create online, to create reasonable solutions based upon your skill set and skill sets that you're acquiring. The last thing that I can add is the other really attractive thing is to become a lifelong learner. If you consider your capabilities, and many IT people feel this way, they consider their current capabilities as a ticket. And it might be, depending on how hot your current capabilities are. But if you're not constantly acquiring new skills, new perspectives, if you're not challenging yourself, it'll come through. It'll come through because the difference between confidence and arrogance lies in what you don't know. If there is an area that you're not sure of, but you're getting there, you're working on it, and you can't speak to that process, then you leave open the sense that this is a know-it-all. How is it possible this person could be that confident? They must be arrogant, right? They judge you based on your presentation. If your presentation isn't informed and like, well, you know, here's a great example. Yesterday, I began to investigate a new kind of orchestration platform called Active Pieces. All right. It's new to me. I'm sure it's not new in the world, but it's new to me. And I described to my COO some of the things that I'm learning. And he's like, wow, that's really great. I love that you're making that connection. And we could use that. We could use that. Let's talk about that. That could be another project in the future. So now I've got him excited. My relationship with him deepens. The same thing could occur during an interview or maybe not even an interview, but a presentation or a discussion over dinner or lunch or whatever. You could say, I'm really getting deep in this area and maybe this could help. I'm still learning it, but here it is. Um, Very interesting. I'm always learning something. This is just technology. I'm also learning languages. I happen to love Portugal. It's a happy place for me to be. I'm planning to spend part of the summer there. I'm learning Portuguese. And when my vendors, I have one vendor in particular who has an office there. He's like, "Oh, you have to come by. You have to come by. I want to talk to you. There, you have to be there." And I could just tell he's going to pull me into other things, other opportunities, let me meet your product development staff. Um, Everything you learn is leverageable. Everything. So learning is never a waste, even if it's just to satisfy your own curiosity. It's always leverageable. It's just a question that fills in your person, your extraordinary being.
So something you said I wanna go back to was about as a tech person, expensive tech person, C-suite, right? You are on the liabilities bucket. So how do you stay relevant to this new environment where it is very much make money, save money in this current condition, right? So how do you position yourself and keep even while you're there, continue to position the value, right?
Right. You have to do that. Yeah. First of all, the statement I made about being on the liability side, most uninformed, um, non-technical people see technology as a necessary evil, unless you're working for a software company, and then you're on the other side of the balance sheet, but because you're creating value and it can be resold. The difference is if you allow yourself to take the liability mindset, you will always be reacting, right? Because I only have this budget and I have to get everything done in this budget. And so my thinking gets smaller. That's no fun, not fun for anybody. And let alone your CEO or COO that's trying to get more done with the same money. So what you do instead of being a liability mindset, you create a value mindset and you teach them because they will need to be taught. You teach them about your value, and what could be possible. Well, I'd like to think that one of the reasons that we've made some purchases over the last few years is because I went out to lunch one day with the CEO and the CFO, and I go, "Look, guys, we have to think about this differently. Right now, I'm doing projects that are very important operationally, but they're catch-up projects. We're paying technical debt. We're recreating capabilities you currently have because you've lost the old capability somehow in the technology. I want to look at this. What else could we be doing? Here are 3 business ideas. Let's do that. Let me build this thing and we resell it." And that got them thinking. I got their juices flowing. So now they come to me and they go, "We are going to buy this company. We need your help. Get involved." And they're bringing me into things. But it's because you create the expectation of value amongst the people that you are serving. And it is very much a service orientation, right? You never forget you're not a piece of the furniture. You are value based. So you say I'm expensive, right? I'm not expensive. I'm a bargain. Why? I'm a bargain because I'm going to provide 10 times the value you're paying me. And oh, by
Absolutely.
the way, I'm not charging, right? So think of yourself that way. You are worth your salary plus. They're getting a bargain on you, not because you're cheap, relatively speaking, you're still making the money you're making, but because the value you're bringing more than justifies you. And if you can't do that, you better be looking for another job. If because frankly, you're getting judged by the auditor, by the board, by the CEO, who all have to prove that every single thing they've purchased, including people, are worth it.
Mhm.
The minute they find some weakness, they begin to think like Doge, and not to be political, but they think like, "We can cut it. We don't need it. We do without it." And you never wanna get there. It's because I create value above and beyond my salary that they are worried about losing me,
So I
right?
wanna
They are
I wanna leave you with one powerful question since you probably hire a lot of tech executives under you, right, in your career. What is the biggest thing that stands out when they're all the same on paper? What really grabs you to lean in with someone?
attitude.
Attitude,
Uh,
okay.
Attitude, confidence, and, that ability to be a lifelong learner. Openness, maybe, adaptability by any other name. The fact is that on paper, everybody looks the same.
They
You
do.
may not on paper is hard. Resumes are archaic.
Yeah.
Portfolios are important, but resumes are archaic. And I don't look at them, honestly. I'll give a look over and, "Why'd you leave this place, and are you a problem?" and all this to that. But the the real value comes from their ability to think, and that means they've trained themselves to think. That means they know what they know, and they own what they don't yet know. If they can do those things, they're in. Honestly, they're in. As long as they have the basic competence for the position, they're in. Because my position is in my company, not any other company you've ever worked for. My problems are my problems, not any other problems that you've previously solved. So what is important to me is not that you fix the problem for an old employer. I don't know the parameters of that. I don't know the environment of that. I can't judge that. But what I do know is what's the probability you're going to fix my problems? What are the probabilities that you're going to fit into my organization? And those things are based almost entirely on your attitude, your presentation, but your willingness to be open as a person.
So it is very much you're looking at that it's more emotional sale for you to be experiencing those competencies and that personality and those values, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. At my level, that's what I look for.
Okay. Well, I know we're almost short on time, so what's the best career advice you can give to someone that's an aspiring tech executive that wants to make it to the pinnacle that you're at right now?
Um, Rethink your value, which is, I've spoken a lot about that here. Um, Rethink your value, present your value, but look critically at your network, the people that you know. Um, and and don't for a second think that anyone is going to hand it to you.
Yep.
Um, your value, although it may be extraordinary and on its own, no one's going to hand it to you. You need to be able to make the connection, and you make it through people you already know. You make it through people you will meet. Attend every kind of networking event you can. Meet as many people as you can, and find the connectors in your world. Once you find them, make good friends with them. Um, as you know, Olivia, I also own a winery, so I make a lot of gifts of wine. It's a great opener for me. Now maybe it's cheap, but, in terms of love languages, it's probably the cheesiest love language, but giving of gifts opens doors sometimes. So I'll say, "Try this. This won an award, and I'm really proud of this." And that'll open up a discussion about everything, about you, because that's unusual. Not everybody has that, but you find something in you that is unusual, find it and use it and make that network accommodate your needs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Eric. You are always just so passionate and you've a ball of energy and you're so much insight. So thank you for just making time. I know how busy you are, so we appreciate you making the space to give some insight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This has been a joy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric.